Hey, it's Dr. Fred, TMT, Tuesday Morning Transformation. We're all alike in unity because we're all a spirit first having a human experience here to fulfill a soul purpose. So I have a question for you. When is the struggle in life over? See, this is Italian. When is the struggle in life over? This is like my grandmother talking to me. Okay, so what happens? Life is like the tide. It flows in and it flows out. We have times when we're happy. We have times when we're struggling, and it flows like that. And the problem is when we seek happiness, then what we do is we look at conditions and we say, when I have this, I'll be happy. When this happens, I'll be happy. And what's really happening is we're seeking things outside of us because we're living a life to gather. And what's that mean? The small us is the human us that says, here's my problem, I'm focused on myself, I need these things, I'm spending my life to gather, rather than seeing, as Neil Donald Walsh calls it, the big universal us, the divine us, that isn't here to gather, it's here to work together. Because we have unity, our divinity, we're all the same from the inside out. So when he wrote this book, Conversations with God, and he was frustrated because the same thing, we learn from our family and our teachers and our culture, and we do what we think is right, or we rebel against it, right? And we follow these cultures, and we're trying to seek things that make us happy. Yet in Matthew 6:33 it says, seek the kingdom first, then all things will be happy. All things will be added. So we're trying to change our conditions and seek happiness, when what we're really called to do is not to change the world. We're spending energy to change the world, when what we're being called to do is to change our mind and move from working to gather into working together. Working together, that's the structure. That's the struggle, right? So it says in, where is that? Luke 20:42. God says, sit at my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. Wow, look at that. What's he actually saying? Rather than struggling, trying to change this, why is your relationship in a challenge? Why we want our business to grow and we're struggling, or, I get a new task at a business and it's overwhelming, and then my kids have a problem and I have to do this, and we run it around in our task list because we're trying to affect all these things outside of us that we think are going to give us order and they're going to give us certainty, and with that then I can be happy, and when this happens and when this happens then I can be this. And that's our struggle. So when does the struggle end? So what's God say in Luke 20:42? He says, sit at my right hand and I'll make your enemies your footstool. So what's that mean? I have all these problems. What's it mean? I'm going to put my feet up on those and I'm going to rest. So let's use the metaphor of an eagle. So when an eagle flies, when they fly at a lower altitude, right, they have crows, and the crows are nicking it, at their tail and bothering them. So what's an eagle do? He catches a thermal. They spread their big wings, and what do? They go to a higher altitude where other birds, turkeys, chickens, they don't fly. Crows fly, but they get at an altitude where those other birds don't bother them. And that's a metaphor for we need to get to another consciousness. So what's the struggle? You're butting up against a ceiling of consciousness. And we think this ceiling, why is my business growing? How come I'm struggling at work? Why am I having problems with my kids? Why does my relationship have these challenges? Because the ceiling isn't in your relationship. The ceiling isn't in your business. The ceiling isn't in your kids. The ceiling is in your consciousness. And so if we want something greater, more fulfilling, not happy, but more fulfilling, we have to break through the consciousness. Like an eagle, fly at a different attitude, get a bigger picture perspective, see it from up here rather than from down here where the turkeys and chickens, not that these are people, but these are your conditions, they don't even fly. Like they may fly for a little distance. What do? If they're threatened, they run around on the ground. An eagle soars at great altitudes, that has vision and sharp, acute eyesight where they can see what they need to do way down there, and then they swoop down and then they go back to a greater altitude, and that's where they mate. eagles mate, when eagles mate, they're at a higher altitude, they actually come together and they do a free fall while they're mating. And then they split. So what's that mean? Finding a partner that's it and rising together to a higher consciousness, taking your team in your business, taking the people around you. So one of the things that came to Neil Donald Walsh is says, why am I struggling? And God tells him in Conversations of God, Neil, you think your life is about you, when it's about how you touch the lives of others and the way you touch them. Why are we seeking happiness? Because we're being our small us, trying to gather rather than realizing we're all connected and contributing to the lives of others and working together. That's the difference between happiness and struggle versus fulfillment. The ceiling we're running against, bumping up against, and it's like that glass ceiling. We see everything the other side. Why can't I get there? Because we have to elevate our consciousness. And what's the first principle? Let's get out of the small us and trying to gather and say, this is what's going to make me happy. Rather seek the kingdom inside. All this stuff takes care of itself, because now we get to a new level of consciousness. Now your relationship will go to a level that you've never experienced. Now your business, the breakthrough are coming. It feels like the struggle is breaking us down. But when we become conscious of that level we become aware of that level of consciousness, then we realize it's not breaking us down, it's setting us up for a breakthrough. So all the promises of God and all the divinity that's coming through you breaks through now. And that's when the struggle is over. When you say, these aren't struggles, I use them as a footstool. Here I am, they're my footstool. I follow my divinity, I follow my intuition, I innovate, I continually raise my consciousness, and then struggles seem to dissipate and disappear, and now what do you have? You have joy. You have fulfillment. Does that mean it's always going to be like that? No, but when you run into that problem, I don't solve it by trying to gather conditions. I solve it by changing my mind. I don't solve that by trying to change the conditions in the world. I solve that by changing our mind first, raising our consciousness, being like the eagle that gets above the crows and seeing the big picture. So we move from a life that's geared from gathering rather than to gather, then we move together. Let's touch people's lives in a way that not only do we live the most blessed, but we make an impact in people that takes our whole purpose and consciousness to another level. Hey gang, these TMTs come from purposes that I go through in my life. I want to raise my consciousness and take every relationship, my relationship, to a new level, our purpose to a new level. It isn't really a business, it's a purpose. And that we can help each other and we can move together, because when we evolve our consciousness together, we make a bigger impact in the world. So thank you. I love you. Let's go from together to together, and let's shift the consciousness of humanity. Love you guys.